Sila, purity of Sila, precepts, affects the mind. By training the purity of the precept, physical purity, we develop mindfulness in the mind. So we purify the mind as well. So they are interdependent. Once our mind becomes more and more pure, our precepts become more and more strong. In the same way, when our precepts becomes more and more strong, we know that we are more and more pure mentally. So you can judge your precepts by your mind, or judge your mind by your precepts. To begin with, why? Why do people break the precepts? Why do people commit unwholesome action? Why do people break the precept? Why? So there are causes why people break, and of course, without mindfulness, one breaks the precepts. Even though we, as a Buddhist, we chant the precepts, and sometimes we chant every day, and still we break the precepts. We actually intend to keep the precept. We intend. We want to keep the precept, yet we break the precepts. Lack of mindfulness. Mindfulness is not strong. So sometimes when we get angry, we scold somebody, then we realize, I have lost my mindfulness. I'm not mindful. So I have used harsh speech. I have used very strong speech to harm, to hurt another person. So lack of mindfulness, or mindfulness not strong. And perhaps there are those who do not know that they are breaking the precepts. They are not Buddhists. They do not know about the precepts, keeping of precepts. So they just break it without knowing that it is wrong to do so, because they do not know that there are these precepts to be kept. And of course, again, people do unwholesome actions and speech due to shamelessness. Shamelessness, hiri otapa. There are these two types of mental states that arises when beings perform unwholesome action of speech, mind action, body action. It is shamelessness and non-fear of consequences. Shamelessness. Hokkien we say bo kia ken xiao. Cantonese I don't know what. Bo kia ken xiao. Some of them when they get angry, they scream and fight and shout. 10 houses away also can hear their voices. It appears as if that they are doing something very wonderful when they quarrel. Right now, shamelessness. So when we break the precepts, we have no shame, right? So people kill without shame because they think it is right to do so, and do not fear the consequences of the killing because they think it is all right to kill. So, example like the saying that whatever is on the forelegs is our food. We can kill it for our food. So it is a saying that it is all right to eat. Human is on 2 feet, so you cannot eat the human, but you can eat the animal that is on 4 feet. So they think it is all right to do so. Now, the shamelessness is when a person thinks that he is not doing wrong, or it is all right to do wrong. So there is the shamelessness. Fearlessness is when they do not believe in karma. They do not believe in karma. Believe that there is a cause, there will be a resultant. So they do not believe in cause and resultant, karma and vipaka. So they dare to do bad things because they have no fear. So they have no fear. Then again, there are other causes, but I've just listed up a few why people perform unwholesome action. Mainly, we got to develop our mindfulness. So one way of doing that is to chant, take the 5 precepts. Now we are not forced to keep the precepts. We keep it because we want to do so. So you undertake to take the precepts. Not you are forced to take precepts like a commandment. You are commanded by somebody or something or whatever it is. So it is not a command. It is you undertake, knowing that it is good for you. Knowing that if I keep my Sila, if I keep my precepts, it is good for me. It's good for my karma. Right? It is good for my mental development. Now, if I do not keep precepts, then I can't meditate. I'll be disturbed if I do things wrong. If I kill, steal, lie, sexual misconduct, or intoxicant, then I would not be able to meditate. So therefore, Buddhists undertake it willingly, not by force or coercion, but willingly. So then, there are conditions for breaking the precepts in these scriptures. That what are precepts and how we take the precepts and the condition of breaking the precepts. So last week we gone through something like killing. So we must know that it's a being, that it's alive, not just a life form, but alive with mind and body. So that includes ants and insects and mosquitoes. Sometimes they're very hard to keep, especially when mosquito is looking for their lunch and dinner, and you are their lunch and dinner. So that is extremely difficult to keep. So instead of killing, you say, okay, you go somewhere else. I'm not your dinner plate. Shoo, go away. You're not allowed to slap on it. If you are in the retreat and you piak on it, people eyes stare at you like that. Then you become very shameful. So you piak on it in your own room, nobody see. So normally they dare not do it when there are a lot of people around and they know that they are keeping the finer precept. What is the finer precept? 8 precepts are no joke. No. So that must be a finer precept. You take 8, so you have to be more mindful and endure. So there must be a being. So bacteria not a being. Bacteria is a thing. And so is the tree. If you chop down the tree, it's a thing, not a being. So you don't break a precept. But you be careful when you chop down old trees, or any trees, big trees. Just say, any being staying inside, please move away because I want to chop the tree. Say 3 times. Make sure that no being staying there. If they are, then they move away. It is recognized as a living being, of course. You recognize it as a being. Then there is the intention to kill. You want to kill it. The effort to kill. And finally, the death of the being. So these are the 5 conditions listed. If you slap on a mosquito fly away. So you have not break the precept, right? You only break it in the mind, intention to kill, but you have not killed it. Now then, so the consequences, the consequences of the killing, of course. What are the consequences? The consequences, some of these are listed as, born defective, something like that, born blind or deaf or things like that. Defective, short life is one of them. So there are those who are very young and yet pass away by way of accident, by way of many other things, by nature, all right? Or they are drowned or things like that. So killing produces short life, okay? Now then, what is the stealing? Now we come to stealing. Of course, things belongs to other people. It is not yours. It belongs to other people. Things. It is known to belong to other people. There is the intention to steal, effort to steal, and the things is taken. You put it in your pocket or carry it away. So again, these are the 5 conditions. Then the precepts then are broken. The precepts are broken. Now the precept broken means that it is heavy, heavy karma. Now when you talk about heavy karma, there are still other criteria, like killing, for example. If you kill an ant compared to kill a dog, or to kill a cat, or to kill a cow or human, so comparison again. It is killing a mosquito and killing a cat, the big difference. So, which is heavy? Of course, killing a cat is much more heavier than killing a mosquito, right? In comparison, it's harder to kill. It's the bigger animals, harder to kill. Or a cow, of course, it is more heavy. But if you kill a human, compare, of course, that is heavy. Now again, the human. Whether the human has precepts, whether the human you kill have 5 precepts, or 8 precepts, or 10 precepts, or you kill a monk with 227 precepts. What happens if you kill a sotapan, a saint? That is big trouble. Karma is very, very heavy. So that is in comparison, the heaviness of the karma, and how you kill it is another comparison. Like it's harder to kill, like one who chop off the head of a cow compared to chop off the head of a chicken. So the cow takes a long time to chop off, to saw. So the karma will be very heavy and intense. Stealing comes the same way. What did you steal? Is it minor thing? Is it important thing? Is it precious thing? Who you steal from? Now these all counts. This all counts in the intensity of the karma performed. Now I read in the papers quite long ago, couple of years ago, there was this office man. He works in the office. He came out during lunchtime. And as he was walking along the road, he found a bundle of notes. The bag, in a bag. Big bundle. So he was curious. So he bent down and opened it. And he saw that it was all notes. $10, $50, a lot of money inside. So he quickly took the bundle. It is actually in the cloth. And he tied up and he catch hold of it. And he went back to his office. So he skipped lunch and he put it deep inside his desk. So it was actually the robbers who robbed the bank, and they dropped it on one of the bank on the roadside. Somebody saw him pick up the notes, and he was traced. The police went to the office, found the money. Now, do you think that is stealing? Do you think that is stealing? Do you think that he steal? Well, he found it. He didn't go to the bank and steal it. He found it on the roadside. But of course, he was taken to the court, and the court pronounced him guilty. He was jailed for a few years. Even though he found it, he never steal it from the bank. But the money is not his. Money belongs to the bank. Intention to take it. He quickly take it, go to his office. He make sure he put it deep inside his desk to keep it. And of course, the precepts are fulfilled. He has broken the precepts. So he was found guilty. Then he was put in jail. Even though we think that is unfair. But he was in jail. God found him guilty. So, what are the consequences of stealing? It is poverty. In this life or in the next life. Poverty. Taking what does not belong to you. you have to pay back. So poverty, misery, disappointment, and dependent livelihood. So there are those who work very, very hard and they don't make money at all. They live like the proverb says, the chicken that scratch today, eat today. If he don't scratch, he has no food to eat. So there are those who live day to day. Only when they work, they have money. If they don't work, they have no money. So these are the consequences of taking what does not belong to you. It happens if it is strong in this life, or if it is not strong, it will happen next life, or if it is very, very strong, happen this life and the next life. So these are the consequences of stealing, taking what does not belong to you. Then again, we come to the sexual misconduct. Again, there are the conditions, namely the thoughts to enjoy, the consequences, the effort, means to gratify, and gratification. So the act is done. So sexual misconduct. According to the scriptures, of course, sexual misconduct, you get diseases, sicknesses, having many enemies. Sexual misconduct will have many enemies, having a lot of fears, because you have fear of finding out. And of course, a lot of suffering. There will be a lot of quarrels and separation in the family. So one should abstain from sexual misconduct. Right? Then, 4 conditions are necessary to complete the evil of lying. So now we come to the abstinence of lying. So, an untruth, unless you know that it is an untruth. If you don't know, it is not lying. If somebody say to you, you pass it to another, you do not know it's an untruth. Even though it's a rumor, so try not to spread rumor, because you do not know that it is the truth. It could be an untruth. Deceiving intention, you want to bluff, you really want to deceive that person. Utterance, then you do it, you say it, alright, with your mouth. Sometimes they say that you can also do it with your body action, not necessary to say it through the mouth. And the actual deception, the person believe in what you say or do. So that becomes the evil of lying, to break the precepts of lying. Alright? So, what is the consequences? Of course, you would like to ask the question, what about white lies? The first thing I say lying, your mind say, what about white lies? What about white lies? Lies that don't harm anybody, not hurting anybody. And sometimes it is beneficial to have white lies. To make the person who is angry, and you say something to make him not angry, but you know it's a lie. Oh, it's all right, this person already apologized, he asked me to apologize to you, so to make him not angry. But actually that person never asked you to apologize on his behalf, but you do that, and it's a white lie, and you say, okay, that's a white lie, but it's a good white lie. So a white lie is never good. Lying is never good. But at least the consequences is not heavy. You're not harming anybody. Now the precepts is when it is broken, you harm people with intensity. If it's very strong intensity, then the karma very heavy, right? So a white lie is also a lie, but it is not heavy compared to the other types of lying. There are few types of lying, okay? So what is the consequences? Well, being subject to abuse. People will scold you, will shout you for being a liar. And untrustworthy, nobody trusts when a person who lies all the time. And in the scripture it says stinking mouth, 臭水. I don't know whether this is true or not. But I think more of you eat something wrong, that you have a stinking mouth, rather than lying. So Chinese, we always say jua, lao bin jua, chao chui. So I don't know whether this is true or not. Anyway, it's in the scriptures. So 4 conditions are necessary to complete the evil of slandering. Slandering, person that are to be divided. You want to divide the person. So to slander, the intention is to split the person or group. Intention to separate them, or desire to endear oneself to another. You talk about bad about the other person, so you can endear yourself to him or her. And again, corresponding effort, the effort to do it, and the communication. Now in this case, whether it works or not is another thing. Whether you really able to convince the person to believe in you. Now that is besides the point. The point is, if the 4 conditions are there, then you have broke the precept of lying. In this case, slandering. Again, depend on the intensity of the slandering. Whether it causes breaking of families, this and that, then the karma is very strong. Very strong karma. So what is the consequences? Dissolution of friendship without any sufficient cause. So it's written here as people who do not have friends. If one slander a lot, then the consequences is the absence of friends. Now what about harsh speech? Now we come to conditions are necessary to complete the evil of harsh speech. A person to be abused, angry thoughts, and the saying out, the abuse. So the 3 conditions. Others have 5 conditions, but this one have 3 conditions, right? The above have 4 conditions. So if these conditions are fulfilled, then it is broken. The harsh speech, the precepts of lying is broken. So lying also involves slandering, harsh speech, telling untruth. So it covers other section as well. It's just not lying. It's just not one lying. It also covers harsh speech. Again, there must be a person. If you shout and scream to the wall, then you are not breaking the precept. Right or not? So when you get angry that time, don't scream at your husband or your wife. Go to your room, close your door. Probably you buy a doll there and scream the doll. Or scream at the football or something else, or the wall. So that is the harsh speech. So what is the consequences? Being detested by others. So detested. People just don't like you. If you always have harsh speech, people stay away from you. Those who have harsh speech. So frivolous talks frivolous. That means non-beneficial talk. Most people do that. Right now, cakamaya. Most people do that. Inclination towards frivolous talk, wanting to talk, and the narration and talking. They say talk shop. Talk high, talk low, talk shop. It is something like just talk for talking's sake. So what is the consequences of frivolous talk? Well, defective organs and incredible speech. Incredible speech. In other words, when you talk, people say, how can that be? How can that be? Incredible speech. And it is very detailed. And sometimes you see, for monks are even more detailed. For monks are even more subtle. Perhaps I'll give you some example. Example of monk's vinaya compared to human. Compared to our layman's precepts. So monks are very subtle. That's why they have to be very mindful of their precepts. Very mindful. Now listed here in the for monks, you see 32 kinds of talk, obstructing, friction, and rebirth in the higher planes. You see, for monks, very serious. Now, what is that? Talk about kings, talk about robbers, talk about ministers, talk about armies, talk about dangers, talk about battle, talk about food. So a monk cannot say, hey, what are you cooking today? What is the dana today? Cannot. Not allowed to do that. Are you cooking the food that I want to eat or not? Cannot say that. Talk about drinks, talk about clothing, talk about dwelling, talk about gardens, perfume, relationship, vehicles, villages, market town, talk about district, talk about women. Monks are not allowed to talk about women, okay? Talk about heroes, talk about street, talk about watering places, talk about relative. You cannot say, wow, my father very rich, you know. Cannot say that. A monk cannot say that. My father is a minister, you know. Cannot say that. Monks are not allowed to say that. Talk about relative, talk about title, tatter, talk about origin of the world, the beginning of the world. Monks are not must not talk about that. Origin of the ocean, talk about eternity, talk about eternity belief, wrong view, cannot talk. Annihilation belief, wrong view, cannot talk. Talk about worldly gains, talk about worldly laws. So don't talk business with monks, for heaven's sake. Right? And then ask monk, Potan, I do this business, can or not? Don't go and talk to monks about your business, alright? Sometimes people do. When I was a monk, they come and talk to me about business. Monks, I do this business, can or not? Please go and calculate for me. I say, I don't talk about business. I talk about FOPAP. You want to listen or not? And very strange. They think when I'm a monk, I'm a meditation monk. So very powerful. So they bring letter for me to do chanting. I say, what is this? Potan, letter. Letter for what? Letter for chanting. Chanting for what? Chanting for my boyfriend to come back to me. I say, I don't care. Like that. Sorry, I say, monk are not supposed to do chanting for that. Blessing can. Boyfriend come back to you cannot. So, chanting for worldly gain, chanting for business, self-indulgence, self-mortification. You see how fantastic, So, how much? 31 type of talks that a monk should not talk about. So it's called useless talk. Useless talk. For us, sometimes very important. Some talk are very interesting, like politics. Sometimes so interesting to listen to that. But a lot of slandering. Talk about that. Wow, this fella do this fella do all wrong. A lot of slandering. Now, the livelihood. Have I finished about the talk? Yes. Now there are the yes, of course, the three types is for the mind, but we are dealing with the body only, right? There are three from the mind. Wrong action, unwholesomeness done through the mind, evil of covetousness, the evil of ill will, and wrong view. These are the three. Now, we have in the Noble Eightfold Path, livelihood. Now that is important. Wrong livelihood. We must practice right livelihood. Now that is important. If we have a wrong livelihood, then it disturbs our meditation. We can't meditate properly if we have wrong livelihood, such as dealing with killing, weapons, dealing with drugs, dealing with meat, for example, a butcher. So one should not be a butcher. Otherwise, you will have to change profession once you have a chance. Now I have it's very strange. In my class in Penang last time, there was a butcher in my class. He's in the market. He did not kill the pig actually. He sell meats in the market, but he did not himself butcher. He order and he sell small pieces. And And this lady was very angry with him. And during the class, when I was talking about these precepts, and he was saying, Brother James, there is this butcher sitting at the back. So this butcher was so embarrassed. He was so embarrassed. He's actually never killed any pig. He's just selling the meat. So why people butcher come and listen to Dhamma talk? You know, he asked the question after the talk. So I say, Auntie, don't be so angry. You see, it is more necessary for butcher to listen to the talk. It's more necessary because once they understand, they have a chance, then they change to other profession. And he may break one precept, but he try to keep the other 4 precepts. There are 5 precepts. He break one, try to keep the other 4. So he's still keeping precepts. Better than no precepts. Right? So this is what I give the answer, that if one breaks the one precept, you find it very difficult to keep, but try to keep the other precepts. Okay? So even just by the intention to keep the precepts, the mind is very wholesome. The mind is very wholesome because of the wholesome thinking. But you keep the precept only when there is abstinence. Then there is these precepts, the abstinence of killing, stealing, lying, sexual misconduct, and intoxicant. Only when it arises in your mind, in the abstinence, then it becomes a very wholesome state of mind with precepts. Like for example, the people who are thrown in jail. You say, wow, they are very good with the 5 precepts. They never break because they are always in the jail. No chance to break. Then, Brother James, are they really keeping the 5 precepts? Then I say, no. They say, why is it not? Why is it no? Because there is no intention to keep. There is no abstinence of precepts. Now, when there's a mosquito flying and landed on your toe or feet or somewhere else or neck, and then you take your hand to slap on it, but then you say, hey, this is killing lah, cannot lah. They say, okay, go away. Shoo, go away. So, at that moment, the cetasikas, the mental states of abstinence arises in your mind, that the precepts become strong. Abstinence becomes strong. Just as when you are going to lie, you are going to shout and scream at somebody, and you say, hey, I'm keeping my precepts of musawada. Then at that moment you stop being harsh to people, speaking harsh words, or shouting, or screaming, and hurting people. The cetasikas, the mental states of abstinence, arises in your mind. Musawada, Ramani, the abstinence of wrong speech arises in your mind and become very strong. So those who are in jail, they do not have these abstinence arising in the mind. They only have the condition that they can't break the precepts. Even then, because of this condition, they can't break the precepts, then they are not punished. There is no resultant. But they cannot go to heaven when they die. They cannot be reborn in heaven because they do not have these abstinence precepts. They do not have the precepts. Otherwise, all those in jail will be born in heaven. Most of them will be in heaven because they have no chance to kill. They have no chance to steal. They probably have no chance to lie, but they would have lying, yes, of course. They would have harsh speech and things like that. They have no chance to take drugs or to take liquor. They have no chance to smoke, I suppose. But some jail do allow. Alright? But drugs, no. Smoking, I think, yes. They have no chance to perform sexual misconduct. Right now, then they would have be very strong in precepts. They will be reborn after death. Even when they are hanged, they would be in Deva world. But it is not so. Because the cetasikas, the abstinence cetasikas do not arise in the mind. And in the first place, they do not have this keeping of the precepts. So it is important to take your precepts early in the morning, chant your precept. In the evening, reflect whether your precepts is strong, whether you have kept a precept. Today you have not scolded anybody, you haven't steal anything from anybody, today you haven't taken drugs, or you didn't take liquor, strong drinks, then There should be joy in your mind that indeed today my precept is strong. So to recollect your precepts is good. That in your dying moment, people with precepts would die peacefully, and they would have a lot of joy when they think about their precepts, that they live a righteous life, a beneficial life, a good life, because they have not harmed anybody. It is not easy, even though we do not help people. But if we do not harm people, if we take our precepts, right, that itself is so beneficial. Just to keep your precept is so beneficial. And the Buddha says, destined for the Deva world. One who keeps the precepts is destined for the Deva world. Destined. Buddha says, this is the way to the heavenly world, O householder. Because they asked the Buddha that they cannot become monks. They are householder. They have wife. They have children. They have responsibility. They have work, and they can't wear the robe. Oh Buddha, could you teach something that is beneficial to the householder that they can practice? And the Buddha would expound the 5 precepts, sometime in short, sometime in middle length, sometime in great detail. Like tonight, I'm expounding probably in middle length. Wow, detail is very detailed. It takes a few sessions to finish, very detailed. But the Buddha did that, sometime in great detail. Buddha expound the precepts for the benefit of the listener. So the Buddha pointed the way to the Deva world, and the Buddha pointed the way to the Brahma world, and the Buddha pointed the way to Nibbana. Buddha say, the purpose of the Buddha is to point the way to Nibbana. To Nibbana. That is why a Buddha is born for the benefits of beings, for the purification of mind and body, for the freedom of total suffering, that is Nibbana. So the Noble Eightfold Path is very important. If it is just for the heavenly world, there are many, many religions and teaching that pointed the way to the heavenly world. But the Noble Eightfold Path is very important. Only a Buddha teaches the way to Nibbana. So you must really, really understand the Noble Eightfold Path and try to follow as much as you can. Okay, right, livelihood, and the monk one is again very long. I think it's time's up. I will save these for the next talk before we go to the meditation. After Sila, we go to the Samadhi, which is the right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Any question tonight on the precepts? Yes. The last precept is? Drinking. Drinking. Yes. Some say they drink like a fish. They don't get drunk one. Yeah, drinking. So normally they say that the condition for drinking, they say that they don't get drunk, so they don't break the precepts. All right, they don't get drunk. But it appears that even if you don't get drunk, you know that it is a liquor. It is for the enjoyment, the mind to enjoy. So therefore, a monk, when he take it as a medicine, he must not have the mind to enjoy. As a medicine, like ladies, for example, when they are having babies, they take all this liquor for blood circulation and things like that, for clearing the air. But the intention must not to enjoy. Remember that. You must not enjoy the drink. You just consider it as a medicine. And for the monks, if it smells above 3 feet or 5 feet, then they are not allowed to take it. Even if they take it as medicine, if it smells, then they are not allowed to take it a certain distance. Now for the lay people, if you don't get drunk, then you still break the precepts, but you don't break other precepts. Now, if you get drunk, then you start to scold people, then you talk a lot of nonsense, you tell lies, and some of them, when they get drunk, they perform sexual misconduct. So, break these precepts, they break other precepts as well. So, in other words, one precept leads to another. When getting drunk, they drink and they drive the car, they have accident, they do killing. So they are in big trouble when they go to court. When they kill somebody and they are found that they are drunk, so it's killing, right? So if you do not harm anybody, you just drink, you just sober, you just go to sleep. Some they tell me that they can't sleep without drinking, so every night they must have 1 cup. So Brother James, what about this precept? So what happened is you don't harm others, but you harm yourself. So you're going to have kidney problem if you drink too much. Because the saying goes that first he take the drink, then after that the drink takes him. That's a big problem. He get addicted, become a drunkard. Then he's going to have a lot of mental problem. He can't meditate. When he's filled with a lot of drinks in the body, he can't meditate, he's drowsy, his mind can't function well, and also he hurt his body. So therefore, it is no good for meditation if it takes too much. So try not to drink too much. If you're forced to drink minimum. If you can avoid, total avoidance. So when I was doing marketing, they forced me to drink, then I would say, very sorry, I can't drink. If I drink, my whole body becomes red like cherry. My body is allergy to drink. But it is true, I'm allergy to drink. I can't drink. Even if I take a little bit, my whole body is like red color, like cherry. And then I feel floating, so I can't drink. So even if they force me, I don't drink because I can't drink and because I keep my precept. There's no reason. But I don't tell them I keep my precept unless they are a Buddhist. They say, are you a Buddhist? You are? I am? Okay, I keep my precept. Finish. Then they understand. If they are not a Buddhist, they can't understand. Then I say, I'm allergy. So sorry, I can't drink. I'm allergy. So, and that's about it. So in other words, I don't drink. Luckily, I'm not doing business now, so I'm not forced into drinking. So, try to abstain if possible. Otherwise, the consequences is yourself. You can't meditate. You get very drowsy, and the resultant of drinking in your next life, the rebirth is a lot of moha. The mind cannot function well, like stupidity, become very stupid, cannot understand. You can study a lot of time, but you cannot get into the mind. So that's the result of taking drugs or liquor. If one is born human in the next life, resultant of liquor. And of course in this life, it is sicknesses. It affects the body, affects the mind. You get mental sicknesses, you get body sicknesses, loss of memories. It is all due to drinking. So it is good to abstain, right? Good to abstain. If we take too much, it becomes poison. It becomes poison. Whatever things that are good, when it is over abundance, it turns into poison. Become poison. Before the Buddha passed away, then the last meal, and the devas put all their vitamin, their food for the Buddha to eat. Because they know this is the last chance to do dana to the Buddha. If they don't do it, they have no more chance to do it. The passing away of the Sammasambuddha. Wow, all the devas putting the food inside the Buddha's bowl. And the Buddha knows, wow, wait until all the devas have finished giving. Then the Buddha take a few spoons. Because he cannot take too much. It is too nutritious, too much vitamin inside. Then the Buddha says, O monks, this food can no longer be consumed. You must bury it or throw it into the water, whatever, buried it, cannot consume. Anybody that takes this food will die. It's too much vitamin inside. Will die like that. Too much, it's too powerful. And so monks say, why? How is it so? Because the Deva put all the vitamins in my food. The Deva food is so much inside my bowl, it's too powerful. Become poison. Not allowed. Anybody not allowed to take this food. Otherwise, there are people lining up to take the Buddha food. When the Buddha finish and half cannot finish, wow, all monks and people starts to eat the Buddha's food. Like some monks, you see the monk food on the table, when they can't finish it, then people will shout, Chapeng an, like, you know, like a monk's food, normally they have more nice food, special one for lay people, one not so nice. People go to eat the monk's food, but Buddha say, nobody eat this food, it's too powerful. They eat this, they die. So anything that is too much, even if it is a good thing, become bad things. Remember that. When it is too much of a good thing, become bad things.
How does Buddhism view divorces?
Oh, yes. The Buddha do not do any weakness, right? So in the case of divorce, the Buddha do not say that you married and you can't have divorce. Neither do the Buddha say when you get married, divorce. Neither do the Buddha say that. What the Buddha says is, attachment brings fear, attachment brings pain. Therefore, absence of attachment, there is no fear, there is no pain. So what is marriage? Marriage is attachment lah. So attachment brings pain, attachment brings fear. Of course, we say attachment brings a lot of joy and happiness. That is why we go round and round in suffering. Life after life, there are three types of attachment, of craving. Crave to eternity, crave to annihilation, crave to the sixth sense enjoyment. So that's enough for question for tonight. Sadhu everybody, and take good care of yourself, drive carefully. We'll finish the last part next week. See you next week. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.